This presentation compares the fundamental differences between SMSFs and large APRA super funds. It's educational in nature and does not take into account your individual circumstances. Before you decide which is most appropriate for you, you should discuss your situation with a financial advisor holding the relevant qualifications and experience. Large APRA-regulated super funds are managed by professional trustees, so are suitable for those who do not want the responsibility of managing their own super fund or their investments. They commonly hold thousands of members. SMSFs are suitable for those who want to have greater control over their super investments and are willing to take on the responsibilities of being a trustee. They can hold the balances of up to 6 members. One-off establishment costs to start a new SMSF are largely dependent on the type of trustee and the level of advice required. APRA funds are already established. Similarly, the last remaining SMSF member can't leave the SMSF without the additional fees of fund wind-up. Leaving an APRA fund is easier and cheaper as the fund remains open. Ongoing direct fee comparisons are difficult. APRA fund fees are charged on an individual member account basis and generally comprise a flat dollar amount plus a percentage of the account balance, while SMSF admin fees are relatively fixed, based on fund complexity rather than fund size, and include the combined balances of up to 6 members. APRA funds provide access to different investment pools with percentage-based charge structures, while the SMSF investment choices you make will determine the nature of any investment-related charges. Members of both APRA funds and SMSFs often engage the services of a financial planner which, except for the most basic of advice, will be an extra cost in each case. Both types of funds are investment vehicles. They're not investments, so net rates of return comparisons are invalid unless they assume the same investment focus over the same period after fees and after tax. You must compare apples with apples. The only true way of comparing the two is to determine how the member's withdrawal value has changed over the year, after contributions made and benefits paid have been considered. A very rough rule of thumb is that where the aggregated total balance of all SMSF members is less than $200,000, an SMSF will be dearer than an APRA fund. From $200,000 to $500,000, probably dearer. From $500,000 to $1 million, probably cheaper, and over $1 million, generally cheaper. APRA funds provide a choice of investment portfolio types and, possibly, an ability to choose specific shares from a prescribed list. They maintain rigorous investment standards under professional supervision. SMSFs can invest in almost anything the trustees have decided to include in the fund's investment strategy, depending on their requirements and preferences, and can include borrowing to acquire real estate or shares. Both fund types require strict adherence to the sole purpose test, so investments may only be made for the purpose of increasing the members' retirement benefits. Professional advice is recommended for SMSFs to ensure that relevant investment restrictions are not breached. SMSF trustees may be targeted by sophisticated investment scammers. APRA fund losses due to fraud or theft may be recoverable through the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. SMSFs don't have this protection. If an SMSF suffers such a loss, the trustee's recourse is limited to the courts, which could be expensive and may not be successful. This is a significant difference which requires SMS trustees to be vigilant of both the parties they deal with and the transactions they enter into. SMSFs are more administratively flexible. APRA funds either can't or won't assist with certain actions or strategies as they lack the nimbleness of a small fund and the creativity of self-interested trustees. This may play out in several ways. SMSFs can arrange a standing authority for any benefit payments over the pension minimum to be processed as a lump sum withdrawal. This can maximise the amount the member can hold in the tax-exempt pension stage and can minimise lump sum death benefit tax. Unlike most APRA funds, SMSFs can receive contributions other than in cash. Assets that can be contributed include commercial property, listed shares and managed funds. SMSF member contributions, both concessional and non-concessional for multiple members, can be made and sorted after the event, creating the opportunity for a double contribution in June, which may not affect the member's contribution cap until the next financial year. This can allow a double tax deduction in the year of contribution. APRA funds do not have the flexibility to offer this. Advice is required. Unlike APRA funds, SMSFs can pay lump sum payments by transferring assets from the fund to the member. SMSF pension payments can be attributed across multiple members to ensure that minimum requirements are met. APRA funds require each pension to meet the minimum with little or no ability to redistribute excess or shortfalls in pension payments. Asset sales generate a taxable capital gain to either fund. This can be fully or partially exempt if an SMSF contains pension members. It may also be possible to time asset sales and pension statuses to negate capital gains tax. By contrast, APRA funds maintain discrete pension and accumulation pools. Death benefit tax may be payable where benefits are paid to a beneficiary other than a spouse or minor child. In such cases, where death is imminent, an eligible member might withdraw their balance to save tax. In an emergency, this might be processed by an SMSF trustee completing a standard transfer form for fund assets in favour of the member. This transfer is effective from the date of signing, not the date the transfer is registered. Any cash component would need to be transferred prior to death. An APRA fund has more administrative hurdles which may not be completed in time, though if the payment is made after the member dies without the APRA fund trustee knowing of the death, the payment is processed as if the member was alive. SMSFs may hold binding death benefit nominations that do not expire after 3 years. Furthermore, they can include specific directions concerning pension types, payment of specific assets to certain beneficiaries, and more. They may also direct death benefits to testamentary trusts. APRA trustees will not. SMSF trustees can deal with death benefit payments in a manner which can produce more favourable after-tax results by matching death benefit payment tax components to beneficiary tax consequences. Adversely, a surviving SMSF trustee, hostile to the wishes of the deceased, might dispute the rights of intended beneficiaries. Where such a dispute is possible, most commonly in blended family situations, individual SMSFs with tailored characteristics can be used. This will involve some costs and should be considered at the time of SMSF establishment. Life insurance acceptance terms and pricing may be more favourable in an APRA fund, though this is not always the case. If cost or insurability is an issue, existing APRA fund life insurance might be retained by maintaining a suitable balance within the APRA fund as well as the making of ongoing contributions. SMSFs might earn a significant additional tax deduction in the year in which life insurance proceeds are dealt with. SMSF trustees may choose to take a deduction either for the premium or a deduction on a calculated amount based on the total benefit paid. It's not unusual for the difference to be several $100,000. The tax deduction can then be carried forward and used by all current and future members of the fund to remove the 15% tax on earnings and deductible contributions over many years. There are strict eligibility rules. Advice should be sought. APRA fund life insurance deductions are limited to the premiums paid. APRA funds are generally unable to receive rollover contributions from UK pension funds. SMSFs can satisfy the requirements to accept such deposits for members over the age of 55. Advice is required. Though SMSF trustees can outsource practically all the functions of their SMSF, they cannot outsource their ultimate responsibility for the fund's compliance with its legal obligations. These are serious, so trustees should allow time to become educated and are required to sign a trustee declaration confirming that these duties and responsibilities are understood. Marriage breakdown can create problems for family SMSFs where trustees allow their animosity to override their joint prudential responsibilities. Significant penalties can apply if SMSF trustees fail to operate the fund in accordance with the law. In the worst case scenarios involving willful non-compliance, these could include jail terms or the loss of nearly half the fund's balance in penalty tax. More commonly, however, the ATO chooses to issue administrative penalties that can be quite high for the more serious breaches and must be paid personally by the trustee not from the fund. Trustees may also be disqualified with their names placed on a public register. This could have serious ramifications to an individual's ability to maintain their necessary employment certifications in some situations. SMSF trustees need to consider the time necessary to attend to necessary fund activities such as buying and selling investments, maintaining proper records, preparation and lodgement of fund financials, tax returns, payment of costs, tax, pensions, etc. Much of this can be outsourced, but remains the trustee's responsibility. APRA funds are not trustees, so are not subject to these issues or responsibilities. Members working overseas for an extended period may not be allowed to make contributions to an SMSF, and if they are going to be away for over 2 years, will need to consider appointing a replacement trustee. The government has been considering changes to these conditions, but nothing has progressed to date, so a new SMSF is generally not suitable for anyone intending to remain overseas. Members of APRA funds do not have the same restrictions, but may have requirements about ongoing employment and contributions to the fund. Advice is required. We hope this general overview has been useful. It's important that you understand the difference between large APRA funds and SMSFs before making your decision. Advice from a licensed financial planner and SMSF professional covering your specific circumstances and requirements should be sought.